To those who see it as nothing more than a harmless recreational drug, no more addictive than cigarettes, certainly no more dangerous than alcohol, marijuana should not even be a health issue in this country. And they would tell people complaining about its legalization to grow up and get something more evil to talk about. Well, in many ways, those are Pollyannas that are missing the larger points. Marijuana use in this country is up. Heroin use, oddly enough, is at its highest point in more than a decade. And those states that have legalized weed better think about more treatment for those who get hooked, and those who may indeed use it as a gateway to something else. Let's welcome to the Hardline, President of the American Society of Addiction Medicine, Dr. Jeffrey Goldsmith. Dr. Goldsmith, thank you so much for being here. We want to specifically look at your and the ASAM's 2014 National Survey on Drug Use and Health, showing the percentage of Americans aged 12 or older who used an illicit drug in 2014 was higher than in every year between 2002 and 13. But now I'm going to start, and I'm going to play a little bit of the devil's advocate here. What I just said coming in, people who say, wait a minute, it's only marijuana, no big deal, everybody is panicking. What would you say to those people? And you know that you hear that argument a lot.
Yes, we do hear it a lot. It's a good question. I would say there's several important answers, and that is what was available 30 years ago for people my age is actually quite different now. So the dose is different. Also, when we talk about age, we have to remember that brains are developing. They're literally developing up until age 25, even a little bit later.
What we're talking about here is a more powerful marijuana, a more powerful drug, and we're talking about kids, not just 12 years old, but we're talking about kids who are 10, 11, and then 12 years old who are using it, and now they're even vaping it, which means doesn't it come across a whole lot stronger than it would have years ago?
Yes, the vaping is a way of inhaling it, so you don't have to smoke it. The oils can be volatilized and you can inhale it. But we also have edible marijuana as well. And so people look at cookies and gummy bears and brownies and things like that and may just have a normal everyday reaction. Gee, I like cookies, so I'll eat them.
We've always heard gateway drugs, rather. And there's a lot of people who will say, wait a minute, you can't make a connection between marijuana and a tougher drug like heroin. Can we, though? I mean, can your organization make that and say, yes, it is a gateway, in your opinion?
Nowadays, there's a new series of changes going on. So the idea of one particular gateway leading to another may not be totally accurate. So the idea of e-cigarettes being used by teenagers who've never smoked cigarettes. So that's a different experience and takes a different technology and a different commitment. The same is true for the prescription drugs like pain or tranquilizers or stimulants.
Well,
like
we're a more addictive nation, though, aren't we, in many ways?
Well, we've been addicted a long time. I don't know if we're more or less. Addicted is a diagnosis. So using a drug is not a diagnosis. So we do have to be careful where we go with that word addicted.
Okay.
But yes.
Then let's say this. I got about a minute left, and I want to make sure we get this across. What the ASAM is also pointing out, we need more treatment to be available now, more than ever before. We're falling behind on that in a lot of cities and communities, aren't we?
If you're addicted, and 9% of marijuana users, 9% of adults will become addicted, 17% of teenagers will become addicted. So now we're talking about large numbers. But if we talk about prescription pain medicines and you get addicted to that, that's a very different kind of treatment than somebody who's addicted to the marijuana.
We've talked about this many times. We've talked about the drugs themselves, but we don't talk about treatment enough, and hopefully that's going to start this conversation right here. We want to remind everybody that if you want to learn more about what we have discussed here and also about this treatment issue, we want to invite you to go to asam.org, find out more about what the studies are, what the findings are, and find out a little bit more about how this is indeed changing America. Some would say it's not really hurting, but in many ways it is indeed. Dr. Jeffrey Goldsmith, want to thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate that. When we come back, more right here on the fastest 60 minutes of news. This is The Hardline.